Welcome to Ngozi Talk Shows. Lead from within.
Find your own voice.
Challenges we have had to overcome in 2020.
Find your own voice.
The world has become united by the unseen, knowing there are no guarantees for tomorrow.
Lead from within.
Find your own voice.
Let the world hear your voice and be filled within.
For the day has come for you to be a great leader.
The time has come to break away from the pain, distraction, experience the unthinkable.
Find your own voice. Lead from within. Welcome to Ngozi Talk Shows. Over to you, Carol Ann. Please introduce yourself to our audience.
Lovely, and good afternoon from London, UK. And I'm Carol Ann, and as the writing facilitator, what I do is support soul-driven entrepreneurs in becoming more productive with their writing by connecting them with their deeper innate ability to write. But more importantly, they experience free-flowing writing. They experience an unlocking of the writer within and getting their book written, getting their story written, because you cannot publish what isn't written. And all of this has come about through my own journey of unlocking the writer within. So Amanda, perhaps you'd like to introduce yourself.
My name's Amanda Cottrell, and I'm coming to you from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. So it's bright and early here. I am a teacher, an author, and an illustrator, and my focus is to help people find their own unique creative capacities within themselves. All right, Nomza, what's our topic today?
So our topic today is how do you encourage obese people? And so I have a video that I'm going to play. I'm not sure if it's going to play. How do you deal with obesity? Obesity is basically something that is basically around the world, the government, and it's costing families, because some families who already have money, they can't qualify for free surgeries. It's costing them money, and it's costing the government money, because those who can't afford it, they have to have surgery free. So how do we deal with it in our society? Because it's not something that sometimes it can be caused by genetic, sometimes it can be caused by underlying problems. Some people, they just say, oh, if you are put on weight, you can just lose weight, but it goes deep. I know John Kenney talks about the attachment. Sometimes basically it's the attachment that we have from our childhood and our beliefs as well. And there's also is fast food. It's very cheap, and it's easy to actually get a hold of, and families from low income can afford it. So I'm guilty. I love McDonald's. I like my sweet chili wrap. Once a month, I like my sweet chili wrap. I think the last time I had a sweet chili wrap from McDonald's was month ago, so I don't eat it very often, but sometimes I like to chill out instead of going a posh restaurant where I have to fussy and everything. Sometimes I like to go McDonald's and bite my bite with my teeth. I love that. So let's play this video. I don't know if you guys, do you have any comment about the topic before we go through this? Carol Ann?
No, let's dive in.
Okay, let's dive into this. Let's see if the video is going to play. Share audio and this one, and let's share the video. Is it playing?
I can't see it. I can't see it.
I think the worst thing about being
here it comes.
overweight is
Here it comes.
other people, to be honest, because they're the ones that hurt you most. I feel ashamed of myself.
Today on Fat Doctor, two young women who have spent a lifetime battling with their weight. At just 21 years old, Victoria Wilson tips the scales at 28 stone. She's been bullied throughout her life because of her size.
I think the worst thing about being overweight is other people, to be honest, because they're the ones that hurt you the most. I feel ashamed of myself because sometimes I just feel like it's my fault that I've got this big, and that in a way I deserve to be this big because of the stupid decisions I've made.
Okay, I'm gonna stop it here. How do you guys feel about what she just said? Stop sharing. How do you guys feel about what she just said? What are your thoughts?
It was really hard for me to hear because the volume was turned down, but I did hear that she was bullied for her entire life. And I think that that's something that is so, like as a teacher, the bullying in the classroom is something that we're trying constantly to monitor and be aware of and to support children in all areas. But I know something that's like a physical feature can sometimes be something that people struggle with for so long, and having weight is something, extra weight is something that people are so self-conscious of. I know even when I put on a little bit of weight myself, I become really self-conscious of it. And so I can't imagine what she would have gone through her whole life if she struggled with it since she was a child.
Absolutely. And I think there's one of the key problems there is, people that are overweight for some reason get attracted. Bullies seem to attract that bullying aspect. For what reason? I've no idea. What is it about people that are that size that causes other people to pick on them? So again, that adds to the discomfort of somebody who already is not comfortable in their own skin. And it just adds to that shame that is felt. And, as she pointed out, she's been with her all her life. So what actually started it in the first place? And this is where I sometimes think we need to look, is there are deeper reasons, deeper causes for people becoming obese. The thing about fast food and about the food we eat and unhealthy eating is just the symptom, because what drives you to eat that food. But sometimes obese people actually eat healthily. They don't always eat the fast food or the junk food, and yet they're still overweight. So what is going on in their system, in their body, that is causing that? So I think there's several things to address here. It certainly felt for her, that idea. And I remember somebody who I used to go to school with lived up the road from me, and she was quite overweight and was constantly being picked on and very unhappy. So, what is it about this that causes us to do that to people? And so I suggest that there's possibly something in that person. There's something past life or generational vibration that is attracting that behavior, but there's something causing the body to hold that weight, because generally it's a protection, isn't it, of some form. So what were your thoughts, Namsa?
I basically feel that because she has been like that since from her early age and going to school and getting bullied, I feel that even though somebody is obese, we don't have a right to bully that person. And I feel for her for what they are going through, because when somebody is being bullied, that can contribute for her wanting to do it more, to say, well, I'm already being bullied and I'm already going through this work. I might as well get on with it and continue eating. But actually, what she's going through, like what you're saying, Carol Ann, it might be generational things that are going on in her family, in her DNA, or it could be simple at home. Maybe she's in not happy at home, or it could be parents' problems. Parents are having problems. It could be so many things that are contributing, but the society, sometimes we live in a judgmental society, a society that does not help. Basically, people, they judge a book by its cover instead of if somebody is going through something, you try your best to actually find out why they're what is going on. Like, my friend doesn't come from a obese family and stuff. I didn't see her during lockdown, but then after lockdown, I met her and she had gone and did operation tummy tuck. So I was like, what has been going on? And she was like, I just kept putting on weight. Putting on weight in the end. Basically, I couldn't take it anymore. And she ended up going for a tummy tuck. And now she can control what she eats. And for me, it surprised me the time that I didn't see her. She was like coming from a normal family and she was fine. And then I see her, everything is changed, and she was showing me pictures, and I was like, how did you put on this much weight in a short space of time? So that's when I realized, actually, never judge anyone, because anything can change in a short space of time. So I'm gonna play more of this video as we talk along.
Jessica Simpson now wants to go under the knife to lose weight.
At the moment, I weigh just over 18 stone, and bottom half I'm about size 20, top half 16 to 18. I'd like to be a size 12 deep down. I think that's my main goal.
Expect graphic scenes of gastric bypass surgery on Fat Doctor. Britain is now the fattest nation in Europe. Over a quarter of the adult population in the UK is dangerously overweight. We eat too much and we exercise too little. Millions of Britons struggle daily with diets. But for many, however hard they try, they simply can't get rid of the fat.
Well, I'm 43 stone and I realise that eating is killing me. And I think that it's that addictive side to the problem that people who aren't my size can't really grasp.
Food to me is a daily battle. I am the good, the food is the bad, and I'm losing. It's almost like I'm addicted to it.
I don't know how many calories I put away a day, but I'm sure it's not right. I'm really desperate to...
Okay, so how do you guys feel about this one? Carol Ann, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I think that. Oh, I'm really echoing. Okay, that's better. I think sometimes, and I know even within my own family, recognizing portion sizes is something that's huge. And if you don't have control on portion control, like self-portion control, then that can be something that you really struggle with, especially if there's a giant bag of chips from Costco. I don't know if you guys have Costco's, but in your pantry or something. And so I know even when I lived with my aunt and uncle, when I was going through my divorce, I've always been a portioner, so I like get a little bowl and put some chips in it, and that I eat the tiny bowl of chips when I want something salty, and if I want something sweet, I eat chocolate every day. But I just have like 1 square or 2 squares. And so portion sizing has always been something that I've just done naturally. But my aunt said when I lived with her, and we were even talking about this at Thanksgiving, she was like, I didn't know how to portion until you lived with us. She's like, I always would just eat the whole bag. And so, and she's like, and I learned from you. And I was like, nothing I was even consciously doing. It was completely subconscious, because I never thought like, oh, I need to like only eat this little bag of chips or little bowl of chips. It always would just be like, this is how I do it. It was completely subconscious, whereas other people, if they open a bag, they'll just eat it until the bag is empty. And that's something that I think people need to, if they are struggling with weight, is start to like change their mindset and become conscious of it. I've always just done it subconsciously, portion sizing, but I didn't realize that it wasn't something that people just naturally do. And so that was a big eye-opener for me, was that portion sizing wasn't something that you just naturally did. And I know even when I go to restaurants, I can never finish my plate. I always end up taking half of it home and eating it the next day. Whereas most people, when they go to restaurants, they clear their entire plate. And I don't know if that's from, as a child, being told like, you can't leave the dinner table until your plate's empty. But I've always just portion sized things, and if I don't finish it, I just wrap it up and put it in the fridge, and I take it tomorrow for lunch. I almost plan my meals like that when I'm cooking at home, so that I know that I have half of it for dinner and half of it for lunch the next day. But I just do that subconsciously, whereas I think that that people who struggle with weight will just unconsciously eat until it's finished, eat until the bag's gone. And that's something that if you can start to become aware of, you can maybe start to take tiny steps towards change.
And I just want to clarify something here, because when you said chips and you put a few in a bowl and then you'll just eat them now and again, I'm thinking, oh, they'll go cold. And then I realised you're talking about what we call crisps. You call them fries, don't you? Chips are fries to you.
Yeah, we call them
so
fries.
it's like that. And I thought, oh, she means
like a bag of chips. Or yeah.
So I get your portion. You take a few out, and yes, that's where you get your saltiness, and you can just nibble at them, and So and what's interesting is that it's great you've got that discipline and that ability to do that. What I heard in that video is something I can really relate to, is that one of them said, I know I'm killing myself, but, and you just cannot help yourself. And I know over the last few years, I found myself at times just sitting, not exercising, knowing that I ought to go and do some exercise, and just eating, just watching the telly. And I had this knowing that I was killing myself. I was destroying my body. And I just didn't seem to be able to do anything about it. And one of the things I did look at was something to do with the Enneagram types. So the ego type number 9, which is the unhealthy side of that, is being sloth-like and being a couch potato. And it really has a pull, it's self-narcotizing. And so it's a very strong destructive impulse. So being able to work with that, I was able to spring back again, because the flip side of that is engaged and active. But I've also, when it went into lockdown, I found myself again in that situation where I was just sitting, not exercising, watching television, and just actually sleeping, not even watching telly, just sleeping so much. And again, realizing that I was, again, destroying this body. I was putting on weight, more around my abdomen than anywhere else. And I just didn't seem to be able to do anything about it. And something else that I came to realize just recently, and again, something else I've done some work on, is there's a self-preservation instinct which you hold on to, you store. Yeah, there's this fear of running out of food, so you're constantly hoarding, and so there is a destructive element with that one. So again, and it is, as you were saying, Amanda, it's noticing what you're doing, and then being able to reach out and find someone that can support you. I'm lucky that I do have this training in this field, and I've got people that I can then approach and do some work with to support and change this. It's changing slowly, and I'm starting to now introduce some more healthy supplements. My eating, what I have stopped eating and don't have the craving for anymore, is cake. Last year, as I said before, my granddaughter, she started her cake business. Absolutely amazing cakes, gorgeous cakes, and she does butter icing. I would literally get a spoonful of her butter icing and eat it. I just couldn't seem to stop myself. I'd eat any of her cakes that were left over. She'd make nice cakes, and I'd just be eating it, and I couldn't seem to stop, even though I knew it wasn't doing me any good. The other week, I suddenly realized that she was making some cakes. I wasn't even bothered about licking the bowl or eating any icing that was left, because I would literally be pushing it out of her piping nozzles and say, "You finished with this bit of piping, icing?" And she'd say, "Yeah," and I'd be pushing it out the nozzle and eating it. I mean, how crazy is that? And I just think, how much butter am I consuming here, and icing sugar? But I couldn't stop myself. Now I have it. It's just it stopped because I've addressed what was going on inside, a deeper cause. And yet I can see her piping bags now lying around. I can see icing left in the bowl. I'm not even I'm getting a spoon and spooning it out, from what was left. Because I'd say to her, "Oh, do you need any of this?" And she'd say, "No, that's all right." And I'd be scooping away at it. Now I don't find that compulsion to eat it anymore, or to have a cake. She had a spare cupcake. That's right, I can remember the word for a minute. She had a spare cupcake the other day. It was on the side, and normally I'd say to her, "Oh, is that for anybody?" And she'd go, "No," and I'd eat it. I haven't even asked if it's anybody's. It just seems to have gone. And when I went to the theatre on Saturday, I had the thought, "Oh, I'll get some jelly babies," or you normally get some sweets when you're at the theatre. Something in me was going, "Nah," even though I couldn't get the picture of the jelly babies out of my head. When I went to the shop, I found myself getting a bag of dried figs instead. The chocolate, the sweets didn't draw me, and I literally just ate a couple of those figs while I was watching the show. And I'm finding that I'm not rummaging around at night looking for sweet stuff or looking for something else to eat. So something has changed, but it's still, to get rid of this that I put on is going to take an effort, because yes, I still need to do the exercise, but there is change. And it is easy to put it on. It's a lot harder to get it off. So I think we need to recognize that yes, portion control is something you could practice, but when you've got that compulsion, unless you deal with what is driving you to killing yourself, no amount of attempting any other what's the word I'm looking for, intervention or thing to do is going to actually work. So that's something I think that really needs to be understood here. And it doesn't help somebody who is obese to say, "Oh, go on a diet, go and do more exercise," because maybe they just can't.
Yeah, Louise Hay talks about how it's sometimes like a unconscious piece in your mind that keeps the weight on and holds it on as a protection. And if you can get down to that piece in your subconscious mind that's holding that weight to you, then that's when you actually will start to lose weight. And it has nothing to do with the amount of exercise or how healthy you eat. It is really tied to that subconscious piece that that we need to dive into and need support with. And I think she has a really interesting concept if you look at her books and look into how she views our subconscious mind and how if we can retrain our subconscious mind, then we can cure anything in our bodies, including obesity.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I like when Carol Ann says address what is going on inside and then you deal with what's basically driving you to do what you do, what is going on. Basically, for me, I lived in Essex. Now I live in Henley in Oxfordshire. When I lived in Essex, I lived there for I think 5 years or 7 years. And then I moved to Henley. But when I moved down here, although I was still in the UK, but it felt like I was in a different country because of, honestly, because of the way, the lifestyle, basically. Honestly, in this area, you can't make an excuse and say I'm obese. You know, you can see a 70-year-old, they are walking, it's either walking or running. That's where all celebrities live. And sports, basically, the doctors, they encourage here in Oxfordshire, the first thing when you register with them, they want to know what kind of exercises do you do, because they encourage people basically to keep it healthy. So basically, when you go out, you will see people walking by the river or you will see people running. There's always something going on. So even if you feel basically you want to motivate yourself or you are not motivated, when you look at people even going to school, dropping your kids, somebody is wearing their gear, basically ready to go jogging. So it motivates you. I was really shocked. I was like, am I still in the UK? The lifestyle, basically how the GPs work is actually amazing. It's like even the mindset is actually amazing that people, basically that's how they live. You feel left out if you're not doing any swimming or you're not doing any walking or you actually feel left out. And the parents basically, they encourage each other. So I think sometimes the environment, and sometimes when Carol Anna was saying you have to deal with it and address what is going on, you have to be able to address that. I've always been doing exercises. I come from a family, basically. I am aware of, because the doctors, when they ask, can say family history and family that. So if I'm doing anything that is out of I've not seen it in my family history, or in start putting weight or start changing, I have to address it straight away. It's something that I've taught myself that if I'm not happy with something, instead of comfort, there's food that I don't eat. I don't eat full English breakfast. I don't know. I honestly, I don't know. Maybe since I've been in the UK, I've ate it once or twice. I don't eat full English breakfast. I basically am a cereal person. I just eat cereal in the morning. And when I eat lunch and that's it. And when I eat dinner and that's it. If you see me eating crisps, that means maybe it's weekend. I'm just eating it because I'm in with my kids. But otherwise, I try to be aware, like Amanda, what you were saying. I love my food. When I go to a restaurant, I have to finish my food. But I order healthy stuff as well, because you have to be aware. And also, if you are not aware, or something, if you see any changes that are unusual, you have to be somebody that seeks help straight away. And for me, I'm a person that I'm not ashamed to cry if I don't feel good. I'm not ashamed to tell people that I don't feel very well if I don't feel good inside or I feel a little bit stressed. I'm not afraid to actually, if I feel like if I feel that there's something going on and I don't feel too good, I'm not afraid to seek professional help. And it's something that I had to learn the hard way. That and just watching people around me, that sometimes people let things uh, go deep, and when something goes deep it's hard to get out of it. So it's something that I taught myself. If I feel that there's something wrong, I'll just ring my doctor and find out if everything is okay. As long as they say it's okay, I'm good with it. But if I start eating or whatever, I go running, I dance in the house. If I can't go jogging like during lockdown, I'll just I danced in the house. Basically, I go to my kitchen or I go to the garden, I play music, I dance. So I don't have excuses. But you need to be motivated. You need people around you. So for me, basically, it's the city where I live that keeps me motivated, because I look at people and they are running, the children, they are cycling, and the parents, they are walking to school. So I think sometimes you need that. We need to motivate each other in our society. And the judgmental, we live in a judgmental, even on Facebook. Like sometimes if you put on a little bit weight, people want to comment. For me, what I intend to do is that I intend not to worry about what people think, because at the end of the day, people will make things worse. They'll drive you insane. So it is nice, like to have a professional, somebody around you that you can seek help. It is nice to have a GP or whatever. If things are not going good, just get professional help, get some advice. And don't worry about people, even if they're judging you, don't worry about it, because it can, like this girl, things went from bad to worse because of what was being said to her, and that is not really nice. And I think I need to. Do you guys want to listen more, or you've had enough of it? What do you think? I can't hear you, Carol Ann.
Sorry. One more snippet, maybe?
Okay, is it gonna play? No, it's not playing. My mouse is not working. Is it working?
Get this weight off.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, because my life at the moment is zero.
We are facing an obesity crisis, and in desperation, more and more people are turning to weight loss surgery as the answer to their prayers. Bariatric operations can be risky, and only a handful of surgeons specialize in this complex procedure.
I'm Shaw Summers. I'm a consultant bariatric surgeon. I've been practicing about 12 years, and to date I've performed just under 2,000 bariatric operations.
Shaw performs major surgery that can shrink a stomach to the size of an egg. He operates on some of Britain's biggest. They go under his knife in a desperate bid to shed the pounds. Such are the rewards of this type of surgery. Demand is high.
Our own unit is almost a victim of its own success. Over the last 5 years, the number of people being sent to us for consideration of surgery has grown almost 100% a year. And eventually, we reach a ceiling where we just cannot do any more surgery, otherwise we'd take over the whole hospital. That in itself leads us to a problem of how we deal with the demand. We train other surgeons, we teach other units how to do this, but the demand increases quicker than even that can cope.
At up to £7,000 for a gastric band and £12,000 for a gastric bypass operation, The surgery he performs isn't cheap, but Shaw's convinced it's one of the most cost-effective treatments available on the NHS.
I think it's quite clear that the balance of costs with regard to bariatric surgery are heavily in favour of surgery being cheaper than not doing surgery. And it completely blows out of the water those that argue that why should we spend this money on people who are just fat. Well, try leaving them fat and see how much it costs.
The results of weight loss surgery are often staggering. These are some of Shaw's former patients at their annual reunion.
I've lost 9 stone in just over a year. I feel absolutely fantastic. It's one of the best things I've ever done. I've got more energy now than I've ever had before, so yeah, I would recommend this to anybody.
I've lost now 32.5 stone in 2.5 years, and I feel fitter and younger than when I was a teenager. And I'm 35 now, and it's fabulous.
So far, I've lost 8 stone 9, and that's in 15.
The results they had with that were astonishing. I think sometimes that just getting some sort of help can just help your mental health so much as well. Like, you could just see how much brighter and how much more alive they felt. And it's sad that they had to get to that point where they had to go under surgery, but think about how much more empowering their life is now that they've overcome that and are seeing positive results. Like, every single one of them had just seemed so much more vibrant and so much more happy, and that's really powerful. But I question how we could help them get to that same mental state before they got to the point where they felt like they had no other choice except surgery.
I totally agree with that, because what I found really interesting was his comment about the fact that demand keeps outstripping what they can provide. So it's almost like they can do this and support people in this amazing way, and yet there's more and more are requiring it, and they train more people, but even more people want it. So are they actually solving the problem? It's like this band-aid, really. It's giving a solution, but is it really solving the problem? Because actually it's not going away. It's increasing the number of people who are actually obese and wanting it, increasing in that way. So that sort of rang a few alarm bells to me. It's like, well, they're not really solving the problem. They're helping those people in that moment. And yes, incredible to see the change for them in their life, and how you could see that there was some energy in them. There was a completely different vibrancy about them, and which is amazing. But to have got to that, as you said, Amanda, there has to be, we need to look at what is causing this problem. And I know I read that actually in 1960, because I know the United States have got a huge problem with obesity. They had 13% of adults were obese and only 5 to 7% of children. Well, now they've got nearly 40% adults and 18.5% children and teens. It's a huge,
I don't know if any of you guys have been to the States before, but I've been because it's so close. But the portion sizes are unbelievable. They're huge. Like, I remember just even going to Montana, which is just right across the Canadian-Alberta US border, and we went to this restaurant for spaghetti. I literally ate the spaghetti for that was supposed to be for one meal for 5 meals, because there was so much. Yes, because we were camping, and so I had like it in the trailer, because we had like a camping trailer when I was married, and I literally ate that meal for 5 meals because there was so much, and it was. And anytime we went out, we had to go out for dinner, like, or breakfast or whatever, on day 1, because I would have So many leftovers that I'd be eating for days. And even when I went to New York, it was the same thing. The first time when I went there to teach water skiing and wakeboarding years and years ago at a summer camp. And when we had our like camp counselor like time off, we'd go into this one place, and I think it was called like Fridays or something. And we ordered like a sundae, and we thought we'd like share it between two people. After the first time that we got one, we realized that you could share the one sundae between 4 people and still
Really?
have so much left over. It was unbelievable. The portion sizing and how cheap giant amounts of food are there. It's unbelievable. And so like, because here I would normally, if I get dessert, I always share dessert with somebody, just one other person. There, if you get dessert, you need to share it with like 5 other people because it is so gigantic. And if you have that like subconscious piece where you're just like, I've got to finish what I ordered, if you're eating that all by yourself, I couldn't imagine how much calories you're putting into your body subconsciously. And so it's really interesting when you talk about, sorry that I interrupted, Carol Ann, but I just had to put that piece in about, if you haven't been to the States, the portion sizes are so gigantic that I can see why we've seen that trend.
Yeah, and I have been over there, and I've seen that. And there was one state I went to with my sister and her ex-husband, and we found it cheaper to eat out than to buy food to cook in. And it was the buffet type places. There was the breakfasts or the meals, but the portions that people would get, because it was one price for the buffet, and you could just keep going back for more and more. It was unbelievable. And so yes, totally, portion size there, it is something to look at. But what my attention is drawn to is also, well, what has caused this to catalyst in this way? What sort of flipped the switch to create this rise, this drastic rise, and that's actually become an epidemic, that's spread through countries, and it's not just isolated now; it's around the world. And there's one country, Nauru, I think that's how you pronounce it. They've got the highest obesity rate in the world, 61%. It's a Pacific Island nation, but their diet consists mostly of noodles, rice, soda, and food from tins, because their economy collapsed, and so that's what they're now eating. So again, it's what are we eating? What are we giving the rest of the world to eat? There seems to be this idea of soda and food from tins is the way to forward, and that's what will support people, but it's not. And the fast food that has come through over the years, we don't sit and eat slowly. This whole thing about eating on the go, you're not allowing your body to actually start the digestive process properly, because you need to sit, you need to chew each mouthful several times to let the digestive juices in your saliva start the digestive process. So again, there, if you're just on the go, just eating very quickly, and I think that again is a mindset. We've sped everything up. We've got to get things going. We've got to get things done, and you don't give yourself time to eat, and you eat at the wrong times. And I know several years ago, I would be coming home at midnight and eating a dinner because I'd been busy all day. I'd had a few things, but then I'd come back and I'd be eating at midnight and then going to sleep. That doesn't help your body either. So but what you were saying about, you said about cooked breakfast, was it?
No, I was saying that I don't eat cooked breakfast.
You don't eat cooked breakfast. I love an English cooked breakfast. I really do. And the only time we used to eat it was when we used to go on holiday It was our treat because we used to have a caravan, a touring caravan. So that was our treat. We'd have a fried breakfast, and but we wouldn't have it, as a general course of events because it is too much. But I do love an English cooked breakfast.
I can eat it as a treat. It's fine. I don't have a problem. But at home, it's not something that I'm like, it's got to be done. I'm a cereal person. I went home to visit my mom, and they get up in the morning and they're all cooking and serving food at the table. So I get up in the morning, like taking my cereal, and everyone is like looking at me like, we've cooked for you. I was like, I don't think so. I don't sit down and eat food. I'm just a cereal person, and I think when I was watching this video, basically my concern, Carol Ann, is like you. Like, are they actually solving the problem with the surgery? Because I think this is it looks like it's psychologically, and I think there should be an awareness of obesity, and maybe like in the centers they should have, the local government should have like people working to raise awareness, because I don't think by doing surgery we is actually helping. Like in the United Kingdom, watching this video, it says that there was a big problem which I didn't realize. I watched, I thought it was America, just America. So I think I'm gonna have to do some research and see other countries where they have a problem with obesity. And for me personally, I don't think that. I think we need to look. I'm with you, Carol, and that we need to look at what is causing the problem. And the psychological, like Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins says when you're putting weight, you have to see it as, I am putting weight, I am getting fat, so I need to basically do some exercises, not making excuses. It's like see things as they are, because this is something that is causing problems in our society, and people get bullied. And how can you, if somebody is putting weight, and then you bully them, or you look at them, you are like, why are you bullying them? So I think there should be an awareness, and the people that are bullying people, I know some people online, they like to, there are some people who are getting bullied online by putting on weight. But I think I'm gonna have to look at this more and see if there's anything that is being done. Like Amanda is talking about America, the portions of food, how big they are. And I think in England they're stingy, Carol, aren't they? Restaurants.
Much smaller.
Oh, they are really small, Amanda. The portions here are really, really small. You can't share them with anyone, unless if you go to restaurants where there's lots of them in London where they serve buffet only. Buffet where you self-service, where you pay like maybe a certain amount of money, then eat as much as you can. So I like going to those restaurants once in a while, because that means I can go and enjoy myself and just get out. My friend, they had a birthday in last week, and she said in London there is a place where if you have a birthday you can just turn up and eat for free. So on your birthday you eat for free, eat as much as you want. So I think those nice places, like you eat as a treat, but you have to show a proof of your birthday, your identity. So it is nice, but I think they need to look at deep what is causing. I'm sure they are doing it, because if it's causing, I didn't realize it's 12,000. Apparently in Turkey there is a place where they do the similar work, and they charge you £2,000, 2,000 something or £4,000 with the accommodation and stuff. But I didn't realize it actually cost this much, because that if you are obese, you can't afford it. That means the NHS has to pay for those who can't afford it. So how much is it costing NHS per year? People's surgeries.
Yeah.
So
But it's also not just the surgery, it's the, if people don't have that surgery and they're not able to lose the weight, it's then what is it going to cost the NHS? Because that person's ill in other ways, that the impact of that weight that is there on the body. And but going back to sort of the breakfast, I think English cooked breakfast was built because you had something to start your day, and it was when you were much more active. The jobs were much more physical. Well, the physical jobs, and it's changed. There's much more, sedentary jobs around. People are sitting more. So we haven't changed our way. But actually, breakfast is the most important meal, because that's the time, that morning session time, is when your stomach is working. And yet we expect our stomach to be working at other times during the day. And yet your other organs are doing their bit. If you look at Touch for Health with the cycle of all the organs and when they're most active, actually our stomach is most active in the morning. So the breakfast, as everyone's, has always been said, it is the most important meal. But I wonder how much, because we're more stressed, that isn't helping. People aren't sleeping very well. And lack of sleep, because there are hormones that are released during sleep that actually help control appetite and the body's use of energy, those hormones aren't being released. So if your sleep isn't a healthy sleep and those hormones aren't getting released, that's not helping your appetite. So there's all these factors. But also, if you go back to 1960s, when it all seems to have tilted and twisted around since then, it's the post-war era. So is there any inherent energy that's coming through in terms of when there was rationing during the war, when food was short? And I wonder how much of that unconsciously is seeped through to people, and therefore, there is this got to eat, got to put on, keep eating, put on weight, or whatever it is. There's something maybe from there. I just wonder.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, Carolyn, because I know even in pets, if you have a pet that came from like a shelter or something and had been deprived of food at some point in its life, if you don't portion their food properly, they will eat it all until it's gone and then put on weight. So a traumatized pet will do the same thing if it's been deprived of food at a different point in its life. So it could, and I know that generational trauma happens as well, and so that generational trauma could be in people's cells that have that. They say in First Nations traditions that you look 7 years behind and 7 years above, and that our genetics is affected by 7 generations before us, and will continue to affect people who are 7 generations ahead of us if you have children. So knowing those past traumas and knowing that your cells are holding that, and using different sources to help deal with those traumas could be the first step in allowing us to heal from that as a whole. And I think that focusing on mental health and different healing modalities from a young age could be something that if we started it from the ground up, maybe would change the future, and we wouldn't have to have so many people who have such obesity problems and needing that surgery.
Yeah.
Okay, any words of encouragement, Carol Ann, before we leave?
Yeah, I guess there's, if you know somebody who is obese, be supportive and show that you actually care and that actually they are more important as a person then their weight is not that's not what matters. And just be with them on the journey. And if you are somebody who is obese, find yourself in this. Find a way of loving yourself. Find people who actually do support you as a person, and do the inner work. Do that inner work and look and maybe ask that inner child who may be driving this, for what reason is there I putting this weight on? Can I not lose this weight? Explore it. Maybe write about it, because writing can be a very healing journey. And I know somebody, I've just heard that he's written a book and he's about to publish it to do with his obesity as a man and what it's like for him with his journey. And I really look forward to reading his book when it comes out, to see what he has to say, because it was interesting that I just heard about it when we were having this conversation today. So there's a lot out there, and I think people who are obese, you have a story to tell the world. Let your voice be heard. What's your take on this? What's been your journey? Let people hear, because inside there's still a person, somebody who we can love and who has something to contribute to the world just like anybody else. So yeah, let your inner soul shine. Amanda, what about you? Have you got something else to add?
I think what you said is fantastic, and I think that if you are struggling with weight, try even to look into the subconscious blocks that might be happening, and read some books on connection to your subconscious, and see if that can help you, if you can help retrain your brain into thinking, to getting out of that negative downward spiral that helps put protection around you and makes you carry on that extra weight. Louise Hay's books have some really interesting theories on that, so I would encourage you to look into those.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Amanda. For me, basically, if you are a family member or you have a friend who is going through obese, just be there for them, and don't be a coach to them, because when you become a coach, that can scare them away. Just give advice when it's needed, but be supportive and give them that reassurance that you are there for them every step of the way, and they'll be able to confide in you and you'll be able to help. I find that when you don't coach somebody, let them come to you and then give advice based on what they ask, somebody will be wanting more and more and more, coming back for more, and in the end you get the results that you want, where you want them to be. And don't judge them, because like Carol Ann was saying, there's always something underneath that needs to be dealt with. So if you judge somebody, then that means you're not helping them. And hopefully, if you are somebody who is obese, you seek help and get help and be the person you are meant to be. And we are here at Ngosi Talk Shows Monday to Fridays. If you want to get in touch at 1 p.m. UK time, if you want to get in touch with any of our speakers, please do through our page and through the website. And God bless you, everyone, and live with grace.